Okay, welcome back. Today's gonna be a little different. Um, this is actually composed of like 3 different flights that I did from Queenstown to Cairns. And as you can see today, we're in the F-14 at first. It's one of like 3 aircraft that I did this whole flight in. Um, I don't know why, but I just keep wanting to try to find an aircraft that's faster and easier to fly than the F-16, but I can't find one. I was going through the marketplace looking for one, and this one popped up, the F-14, which I already owned. And I just to tried to make the best of it since I knew that this flight to Hobart was going to be kind of ridiculous. Um, the short story is that it did not live up to my expectations. Um, I guess the F-14 used to be a really cool aircraft for me in the 90s, like most people who enjoy these aircraft. Um, but I can't bring myself to like it. There's no fly-by-wire. The flaps are directly tied to the swing. Maybe they're not, I don't know. I can't tell. But it never got up to even like Mach 2.2. I couldn't even match speed with the F-16. It got up to Mach 2.1 by the time we got to Hobart. Of course, I didn't find out any of this until after this flight, so we're going to continue in the F-14. Now, at this point, you're probably asking yourself, why are we going to Hobart? Because I had mentioned in the past we were going to Antarctica a couple times. The truth is that, while the flight sucks, and that's a good reason, it's like an hour and a half in the F-16, 3 hours on the map screen, and then, you're flying over ocean just for one little thing at the end. The truth is that it's in perpetual darkness right now due to the fact that it's summertime, which is basically winter on this side of the planet. And there's no point in seeing any of that if it's all dark. um, not to mention, or not to dismiss the fact that this flight from Queenstown to Hobart was slow as hell anyway. I mean, look at that path, it's curved. There are a couple of cool things about this aircraft. The sweep wing is interesting. It also has a refueling mechanism that's really cool too. So yeah, I started my approach into Hobart thinking, this would be great. I even was planning on doing a tour of this area at some point, but that fell through. My first approach was garbage. I don't even know why, but if you look at the map, the runway is like maybe 10, 15 degrees off from our flight path. And about this point, I realized that I think I was planning on just flying over the top of it and seeing where the wind was, but when I got down here, I realized it was so foggy, there was no point. But me being blonde, I decided to come back around. So here we are, flying over the ocean, or I guess the bay, and then looking for the runway. And I think I see it here. Yeah, you can see the lights down below. And I was going way too fast at this point, so I just gave it up. So we're aiming for Mike Lima Tango now, which is probably about halfway up Tasmania. By the way, I want to apologize if I've said Tanzania a couple times. This is absolutely Tasmania, not Tanzania. Flight into Mike Lima Tango was actually pretty nice, not gonna lie. The aircraft handles really, really well at on approaches and landings. But then I switched to the Grippen, which is a beast into itself. My only complaint about it is that the map screen isn't great, but also the GPS system isn't great, which you'll see me fiddling around with in a bit. Texture is a little odd. Curves are a little cubular. There I am messing with the GPS, trying to put in East Sail as our next destination, and it takes me a while. Yeah, we came up to cruise altitude, which for this is probably about the same amount, and then a couple minutes later we're in Australia. I think this part of Australia is interesting. I never really bothered to check it out before, but there's the airport below us. I think it might be a military base, I'm not really sure. At this point, I realized the outside air temperature on the MFD on the left says negative 30 degrees Celsius. And I had not at any point thought to myself, like, is that possible? Hadn't noticed any kind of change to the aircraft performance, but when I looked out the wing right there, you can see it kind of looks a little iced over. So then I fiddled with it a little bit, came around into our descent into East Sail, and I started noticing that the aircraft was performing strangely. It's strange. I now use Little Nav Map VR to all my flight plans. So at this point, I had no idea where the wind was coming from, and noticed we were crabbing a little bit, quite a lot actually. This aircraft, its stall speed is super low, so you can get these like really slow approaches, and you can just see us moving, literally crabbing to the left. Came around for a different approach, and it ended up pretty nice. The like minimum landable runway space for this is like 1,000 feet, something like that. So I kind of wish I'd flown this, you know, some of these other places, like through the Pacific and the North Pacific. But there we go. Soft landing. I don't know how accurate that is. I feel like the Grippen, or I guess the real life equivalent, probably isn't as spectacular to fly like that. But you can see we switched to the F-16 again, rocking the Thunderbird livery, and we're still at East Sail. I spent maybe an hour or two flying around here, trying to improve the visuals. I noticed that ever since we lowered the resolution, which, you know, something that happened between Manila and Queenstown, obviously, I had lost a lot of the sharpness of the runways that was coming in. So this whole flight was about trying to figure out where the limits were, while also having fun. Obviously, it's an F-16. I don't really get a lot of chances to fly around the same airport or the same area without worrying about how much time we're spending. So there's me messing with it again, doing some circuits, trying to figure out where I should change some of these things. I think I ended up messing with the anti-optic filtering, I think it's what it's called, to try and see if I could improve the sharpness at distance. And that seemed to do the trick. I haven't had any complaints with it so far, and I mean we are way farther away than East Sail at this point. By the time I'm editing this video, I'm actually technically in Italy, so we've gone quite a ways. But yeah, there's a little bit of landing, a little bit of a takeoff. I don't really remember what else I was trying to fix. Oh yeah, this is actually the beginning of the next flight. So yeah, we're headed to Cairns now. We're gonna stop at a couple places. I decided the first part of this flight, since it was kind of a short hop to Sydney from here, was gonna be done at lower altitude. Don't really get a chance to do that either, to be honest, without feeling like you're doing it for no reason. Due to the fact that, like, over the last 4 or 5 flights, we've been, maybe not through, you know, Australia, I mean, through New Zealand and Australia, but definitely before that, just kind of spent a lot of time over the ocean, and I feel like I earned it. You'll see me do this a couple times, just because I see interesting terrain, and I'm like, that looks like fun. We did it a couple times this flight, actually, this trip. I think I did it also north of Sydney as well. Probably closer to Brisbane. Yeah. I think I was actually making a remark at this point about it looks nice from here, but that's only because nothing's trying to kill us up here. You don't have, well, you know, actually probably the flying spiders at this point would probably get us, but you know, we're not getting punched by kangaroos at this altitude or bitten by any manner of insects that exist in here. I always wanted to go to Australia, but that is one of the things that has held me back. Mostly finances, but you know, item 1 through 100 are reasonable, and item 100 is, or 101 is actually the insects. um, yeah, look at me living life on the edge. I think I started pulling out of the flat hatting at this point. Oh, no, no, I definitely did not. Yeah. The terrain starts to change around here to deserty, kind of outbackish stuff. Which I think is strange. Most of Australia is outback. Just flatlands. And you can literally see it changing right here. And I accidentally kind of forgot I was making a stop. So lucked out and flew directly over the top of it, and then pulled out into this huge sweeping traffic circle. And then came around for my approach. I always end up passing, like my base is too long, and I end up passing my final. I do that quite a lot. Even like in real life when I'm flying. It's a bad thing to do. I of course, you know, parallel runways, you're a lot more aware of that, but when it's just one runway, I don't think about it a lot. Yeah, I decided to fuel up, which is funny. I couldn't get it to actually trigger, so you'll see me getting closer, stopping, trying again. I did this like 2 or 3 times before I just gave up and automatically did it, and then slowly inched my way through through it, and then gunned for the runway. Yeah, I took off normal and then decided, you know, the wind was going the other way as far as I could tell. So I just pulled into a flat inverted and then leveled out, turned right way up, and continued. And there you get to see a wonderful view of the terrain around it. So yeah, here I am, making my approach into Sydney. Or about to make my approach into Sydney. I realized, you know, I was 16,000 feet up, but I couldn't tell which direction the wind was coming from whatsoever. So for like the first time in my life, probably, that's totally a joke, I've done this before, contacted tower and requested a landing. It was something like 5 miles south, 16,000 feet, with India to land, you know, that kind of deal. So yeah, this is me flying over Sydney, getting a great view of the bay though, I'll tell you that much. I would love to come here, love to come here in real life. I'd love to fly over it with like somebody who actually lives here too, or knows enough about it to point out significant features. I do want to say too, like, if you're noticing there's a little bit of weirdness when it comes to this area, a lot of Australia actually, like, the buildings move when I move my head really quickly. I think it's just, you know, it's so laggy It just does that. Australia needs to be optimized, is what I'm trying to say. So here we go, Kingsford Smith. Kingsford Smith is a really interesting character. If you have a chance for a history lesson, go look him up on YouTube. Bit of a convict. Which, you know, fits Australia to a T. I think he was one of the founding aviators, at least in this part of the world. Yeah, so I jumped back out, took a break, jumped back in, spawned me at the watery end of the runway, which is interesting because I would literally, I mean, the wind could not have changed that much, but I took off, and I think we were using the Aggressors livery this time. We'll see. This is the last time I'm loading in, though. Look at me, all over the runway. I'm so bad with this aircraft. I really need to fix the, find a way to fix the, sensitivity of my, rudder pedals. This gets me in trouble way too much. Anyway, didn't feel like leaving completely. So, we hugged the ground. I've seen a couple videos of, like, I think there's C5s or C17s coming through downtown, following the river. And I wanted to do something really similar. So, this will be the first time we break a lot of windows. None of them ours, though. Popped right over the Opera House and next to the bridge, which I think is really cool. Yeah, this area, I've seen a ton of videos of houses. You can find a strange mix of videos about this area. They're all expensive. So yeah, here's north of Sydney, heading to Brisbane. I think at this point I saw a civilian aircraft. There we go, Whiskey Sierra Foxtrot, and I was bored, wasted time, but you know, still felt the need to do this. You can obviously see I was still trying to decide whether it was a good idea or not. Even inverted, I was like, should I do it? And then I was like, yeah, why not? Don't know what I was trying to achieve here, but I caught up with him a little bit. He was going the wrong way, I think, but I might be wrong, but I'm pretty sure that's a Mooney Bravo. Yeah, I was already here. You know, I made the decision to come down this low and lose out on my efficiency, so we just did more flat hatting. And we were really close to Brisbane. I wasn't aware of how close, but it surprised me because, you know, we're like maybe 100 miles out. And this incredible terrain exists here. Australia's probably got a lot more of this to give too. I just didn't give it enough of a chance. I'm way too far out to come back now. Here you can actually see I saw that there was a lot of traffic in Brisbane. I didn't want to deal with it, so I just decided to divert to Alpha Mike Bravo, which was like Amberley military, and then I saw instead we were flying right over an airport. Right there. So I came around and landed relatively nicely. Totally a joke. On exit though, like on takeoff, I got this treat. Don't get a lot of these in Microsoft Flight Sim, so it was a fun racing him to the sky. Technically he won. He has a lot more lift than we do. But you can see he takes off, and then we get up. So, I kept on the ground a little bit though, let him climb. Headed towards Brisbane for our second window smashing. A little bit of a rugby field there, probably. Yeah, but I felt like I hadn't given Brisbane the attention it deserves, so. And I also wanted to see what was the deal with this airport with all these people here. Brisbane's quite a big airport. Quite a big city, too. So. But you can see the lag a little bit. That's okay. I looped around to the right until we got on course and we were at a higher altitude. There's a line of aircraft coming in to land. And we just kept on. Yep, we were gonna make one more stop before we hit Cairns. So this is me like looking at it, trying to figure out how far we are. A little bit of the northern Australian terrain down there. Quite nice looking. Some more terrain. The coastline. I actually, at one point, thought about going out to go see the Great Barrier Reef again, but Great Barrier Reef isn't that visible. I don't know what town this is, but I thought this was a really interesting town. A lot of farm fields. Severe grid, like, city planning on this side of the river. And then on the right, some kind of, like, factory or oil refinery or nuclear reactor. I really couldn't tell. But yeah, we're gonna land right there. The runway we're kind of parallel to. So I figured why not go look at this place over here. I couldn't really tell what it was. But this whole town kind of screams oil town. Which happens, you know, sometimes. Living in Texas, you kind of get a sense of what that looks like. So, here you'll see probably one of the best landings I've done in this game so far. And definitely this trip. And definitely the F-16. Which is ironic because I got lost in the taxiways. Could not find my way for for the life of me. Found an entrance to the runway I wanted, which was about 2/3 of the way up. But it's a 6,000-foot runway, which I didn't think about up until about this point, when I reached my sort of V1 right there, nearly collided with every tree, and then, you know, realized I'd kind of gotten lucky. So, in my frustration, I turned to recklessness and decided a little bit of water skimming was in order. And this really was a lot of fun. Takes some kind of concentration to do it. So, you know, when you're in need of forgetting some kind of frustration that you've been having, concentration required, action is in order. I did this for a while, I think. I was just kind of following the coast a little bit, which is, you know, looking back is kind of dumb because I had very little time remaining. I wasted so much time on this trip, only to get to Cairns and basically, you know, just as the battery was dying. But you know, it was worth it. I think it was fun. That we're gonna head for that gap up there between the two mountains or two hills, wherever they are. Kind of cut along the top of this. I thought I had seen a bridge, which I was a little bit excited about at the time, but there's no bridge, unfortunately. So yeah, we're kind of headed that direction to the right. So there we go. Skimming the mountain, climbing up, back to cruise altitude, and I think no, not yet. Maybe like here-ish, yeah. Let's see, is that Cairns up ahead? Yeah, that's definitely it. So right about here, I got a couple battery warnings. So I knew we had maybe 10 minutes to get down and land, which, you know, I was okay with. I've done that in the past. And but about this point, I realized we were going to be putting ourselves in the exact same situation we were in when we entered New Zealand airspace for the first time. Weather, fog, clouds, battery dying, maybe a lot more trouble than that. But you know me, decided to do it anyway. Keep an eye on that Juliet Yankee Alpha aircraft as well, because I definitely nearly mid-air collided with him. I'm actually gonna, I think the remaining part of this video is actually the entirety of the landing, just to show you what I went through. That device on the left, I can't remember what it's called. I might look it up right now and tell you what it is, but it's super helpful in these situations specifically because, you know, you don't know where the mountains are. Cairns has hills, or I guess mountains, on the west side. There we go, almost mid-air collided. But you can see there's like a valley going on there. The coast is lined with these hills to the left. And about this point, I saw the runway, so I knew we were probably going to make it, but I needed to come in. We were still like gunning it. I think 600 knots at this point still. Yeah, drop throttle, pull hard into it, and I think I leveled out a little bit here, but we're still doing. No, yeah, 215. Where I had pulled the landing gears just before turning into final, so that's how close this was. Look at all that fog. I got lucky. Well, I know Cairns a little bit. I've flown quite a lot through here, so I knew that the lay of the land a lot more than, you know, even Sydney and Brisbane. So I wasn't too worried. The whole thing that really was worrying me was the battery. So oh, yeah, that's it. I think the next flight is into Darwin. But I might combine that with the flights all the way to Diego Garcia, because there's not much going on between Darwin and Diego Garcia, or even to Kochi in India. So, like I said, we're technically in Italy right now. My next flight is Italy to